In the heart of this town, where the blue-collar folks roam, you'll find a scene that makes the everyday so.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pin Deck Podcast. I'm your host, Rod, and I'm super excited to have a familiar face and a fantastic bowler back with us today, Colleen. Colleen, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Rod. Always a pleasure to be here and chat about our favorite sport.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving into a topic that I think is really important for anyone who genuinely loves bowling and wants to keep doing it for years, even decades to come. We're talking about planning for longevity on the lanes. It's about looking to the future, making sure your body holds up and your game adapts as you mature.
Oh, that's such a great point. I mean, we all start out just wanting to hit pins, right? But as you get older, or even just play more consistently, you quickly realize there's more to it than just power.
Exactly. And for me, thinking back to when I was really growing up as a bowler, still getting to my full size and everything, I was exposed to so many different lane conditions, not just the oil patterns, but specifically the approaches themselves. I mean, playing both 10-pin and duck-pin, you'd go to one center and the approach would feel like flypaper, totally sticky. Then you'd go to another and it was like walking on ice. It was a wild mix.
Oh, I totally get that. Nothing worse than expecting a nice smooth slide and just sticking halfway through your approach. Or the opposite, feeling like you're going to fly into the gutter.
Right. So early on, that really pushed me to try and develop a style that could conform to practically any approach, whether it was sticky or super slippery. The goal was to never get too complacent. Even if one bowling center had what felt like the perfect slide for me, I couldn't just rely on that one perfect spot.
That's some serious foresight for a younger bowler, Rod. I don't think I was quite that strategic, honestly. My mindset was a bit different.
Well, I'm curious, Colleen. As a proficient woman bowler, what was your mindset in that regard? Did you think about the future of your game, or was it more about what felt natural at the time?
To be completely honest, I didn't really think ahead about my future in bowling that much. When I was younger, it was all about power and getting to the line. I had this natural tendency to really charge the foul line, and that's not uncommon, especially for women bowlers who often feel they need to compensate for less raw power.
I've seen that a lot, that drive to generate speed.
Exactly. And while it worked for a while, it definitely led to knee strains at times. My knees would just ache after a night of bowling, and I knew that wasn't sustainable. It got to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I decided I had to slow down my approach. It was a conscious decision to really dial back the speed.
That's tough to do when you're used to a certain rhythm, isn't it?
It really was, but it forced me to focus much more on the mechanics of my delivery and how they coincided with each step of my approach to the line. Instead of just rushing, I started thinking about the weight transfer, the timing of the swing, and how it all flowed together. And when I did that, it gave me a much more natural, and critically, a more controlled slide.
So it was less about brute force and more about finesse and timing.
Precisely. And it paid off. I mean, I did occasionally have periods where I'd use a knee brace because I typically got pretty low with my delivery, which still put some stress there. But overall, that slowdown, that focus on a smoother, more controlled approach, it really was a better bowling experience. Less pain, more consistency, and honestly a lot more fun because I wasn't worried about injuring myself every time I stepped on the approach. It saved my knees in the long run, for sure.
That makes so much sense. It's about adapting before the injury forces you to stop, right? You found a way to maintain your game while listening to your body. That's fantastic. My journey was kind of similar in that I also had to make a pretty radical change, but for slightly different reasons.
Oh, do tell. I'm curious. You mentioned you had a sort of similar type of plan, but it was a more radical change for you. What prompted that?
Well, when I was younger, I'd watch some of the other players, especially the really young guys, who would just absolutely wing the ball down the lane. I mean, they were throwing it as hard as they possibly could. And I remember thinking, how long can they actually keep up that pace? It just seemed unsustainable.
The power game, yeah. It's impressive to watch, but you wonder about the impact on their bodies over time.
Exactly. And I'll admit, in my late teens, I was guilty of it too, especially with 10-pin. I'd throw a 10-pin ball hard, since it typically ranged from only 10 to 12 pounds for me back then. It was a straight ball, maybe with just a mild amount of turn on it, not much hook at all. And because I wasn't carrying much weight myself, it honestly wasn't that taxing on my body at the time.
So, you were throwing it with speed, but not with a lot of body strain.
Right, not yet anyway. But then, as I began competing in duck pin tournaments at a lot of different alleys, that's where the real issues started to crop up. There would be some places that were just incredibly sticky at the foul line, which, as you said, can really throw you off. But an equally challenging obstacle were the lanes that were naturally slick, especially in some of those older centers. A fast approach in those conditions would often result in not only potentially fouling with my slide, but just walking up to the line in the middle of the approach, I would feel my feet slipping. It was a constant distraction and frankly a bit dangerous.
That's a nightmare. You can't focus on your shot if you're worried about falling or fouling.
Exactly. It ruined my rhythm. So I decided that instead of using the entire 15 feet of the approach, which I had been doing, I needed to drastically change things up. I moved up quite a bit and started to experiment with rolling a medium-speed ball. I even tried rolling a backup ball instead of the conventional topspin. Just completely flipped my approach.
A backup ball, that's quite a departure from the norm for most bowlers. How did that work out?
It was actually pretty surprising. The backup ball seemed to score better for a while, which was an unexpected bonus. But then, one day, I saw myself on video bowling, and honestly, I hated the way I was swinging my arm. It was this awkward motion coming from the right and then bringing it straight through. It just looked forced and clunky.
Oh, video never lies, does it? Sometimes seeing yourself in action is the wake-up call you need.
It really is. So after that video revelation, I decided to move up even closer on the approach, almost to the foul line, and see what would happen if I tried an ultra-slow ball. And I mean slow, like agonizingly slow to some people watching.
That sounds incredibly challenging, especially for a taller bowler like yourself. Maintaining accuracy with a really slow ball can be tough.
It was, at first, but what I immediately noticed was that it took a lot of pressure off my joints. My knees, my back, my shoulder, they all thanked me. And it wasn't too bad at the outset with accuracy, which was a pleasant surprise. But honestly, the biggest thing was that it just felt like a lot more fun to roll the ball the full 60 feet all the way to the head pin, rather than tossing the ball out about 6 to 10 feet from my late teen years.
Ah, the lob style some people use. I know what you mean. You're effectively shortening the lane for yourself.
Exactly. And that lob style, or pitching the ball out, could sometimes encounter real problems, especially in older bowling alleys with some bad boards. I remember vividly there was an in lane on the lower level at Fontana Bowlerama in Tacoma Park, a classic spot. I witnessed balls from other bowlers who would pitch the ball out about 10 feet, and once in a while, that ball would just bounce left and straight into the gutter. It was an instant lost ball.
Oh, that's brutal. A perfect shot, but the lane itself betrays you. You completely lose control.
Precisely. With the ultra-slow roll, that problem completely disappeared. The ball was on the lane the whole way, and once I got accustomed to that ultra-slow ball, a lot of other benefits came of it. Getting accustomed to rolling overspin on the ball rather than that straight push or even the backup ball, it just opened up a whole new world of pin action for me. I mean, the way the pins carried, it was incredible. So I sacrificed nothing in that regard.
That's fascinating. So a slower delivery actually led to better pin carry. That's counterintuitive for some.
It really is, but with the overspin, it just creates a much more devastating interaction with the pins. And this whole slower ball style, it greatly improved my head-to-head bowling. I found I was more consistent, more adaptable, and less prone to errors under pressure. But the main thing, and this goes back to our topic of longevity, was that even though I still got down low with my delivery, with it being a slower delivery, my knees were spared, and other parts of my torso, they got the exercise they needed, but without the violent impact or twisting that comes with trying to muscle the ball down the lane.
So you found a way to work with your body, not against it. That's really the key, isn't it? It's not about giving up your unique style, but refining it for sustainability.
Absolutely. It's about evolving. The funny anomaly, though, is that when I changed my duck pin style to this ultra-slow roll, my 10-pin ball was actually faster rolling down the lane than my duck pin ball. But spare shooting was easier in 10 pins because I wasn't forcing anything.
That's wild. So the change in one game actually benefited the other in an unexpected way.
Yeah, exactly. But seriously, that change in style, it really saved my knees. I mean, I'm a pretty tall guy, 6'6", and I know that this style of a tall guy rolling the duck pin ball slower than the average mixed league bowler probably looked like a real patsy style to bowlers who hadn't seen me bowl before. They'd probably think, what's this guy even doing?
Oh, I can only imagine, especially with the preconceived notions people have about power and speed being everything in bowling. They're probably thinking you're just not putting in the effort.
Right, but the results spoke for themselves, and the main thing was I could keep bowling without pain. So if there's any advice I can give to our listeners today about planning for longevity, it's this. Slow down your walk-up to being a more deliberate style, and do not lay off from bowling for too long so that you'll preserve your muscle memory.
Oh, that's crucial. I've heard that from so many experienced bowlers. The use it or lose it principle.
It's so true. I learned this the hard way. I actually laid off from bowling in 2010 after a tendinitis issue that cleared up after about 6 months. But here's the kicker. I didn't return to league bowling until 2022. That's a 12-year gap.
Wow, that's a significant break. That must have been tough to get back into.
It was, and by that time, although I still have the effective roll on the ball, that muscle memory for the core delivery is still there. My muscle memory for the finer points, for spare shooting, for adjusting, has been seriously compromised. I now miss more spares than I used to, and I have more pitch outs where the duck pin ball chops out the number 4 or number 6 pin. And, let's be honest, getting older didn't help matters either.
It's almost like your body forgot the minor calibrations, even if the major movements remained. That's a really good point for anyone thinking of taking an extended break, or even just cutting back too much. The consistency of play really does keep those neural pathways firing, doesn't it?
Exactly. So my ultimate takeaway from all of this is, find a style that works for your body, that lets you be consistent and adaptable across different conditions. And then, whatever you do, keep practicing, keep playing. Don't let those long gaps happen, because getting that fine-tuned touch back is a real uphill battle. Colleen, any final thoughts for our listeners about making bowling a lifelong passion?
Oh, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Rod. Listen to your body, adapt your game as you age, and most importantly, stay engaged with the sport. It's truly a game for all ages, but you have to treat your body well to enjoy it for decades. Thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
My pleasure, Colleen. And thank you all for tuning into the Pin Deck Podcast. We hope this discussion helps you plan for many, many more years of happy, healthy bowling. Until next time, keep those pins falling and take care of yourselves.
So next time you're looking to roll with your mates, know the joy of bowling celebrates all fates, with every strike ringing out like a song in this blue-collar game. You know we all belong. You know we all belong.
From the High Point Enterprise from the year 1981. Anthony wins second consecutive PBA title. Earl Anthony routed 4 higher-seeded opponents, including top-seeded Roy Buckley, 242 to 223, to win his second consecutive Professional Bowlers Association title in the $125,000 AMF Magic Score Open. Anthony, who collected $20,000, defeated Mike Albee 189 to 141, Paul Moser 236 to 226, and George Pappas 247 to 214. Here's a bowling piece that didn't seem to get much press when I was coming along in my duckpin days. From the Baltimore Sun from the year 1979. Bowling. Robert Farr, 18, rolls record 266 in duckpins. A 266 game by Robert Farr, a Suitland, Maryland teenager, last week toppled one of duckpin bowling's most glamorous marks, established by a Baltimore woman nearly 6 years ago. And the reaction of Carol Giddings, who rolled the previous all-time high of 265, was as warmly gratifying as was the spontaneous excitement generated by Farr's new single-pin world record feat. The 18-year-old Farr exploded his 266 blockbuster February 14 at the Suitland Bowling Center, a few miles southeast of Washington. Competing in the men's Metro Circuit Duckpin League, he started with 3 strikes. In the 4th frame, he left a 3-10 baby split and made it for a spare. 6 successive strikes followed before he broke 9 and missed the number 10 pin on his last ball of the game. "It's unreal," Farr said afterward. "I knew the old record was held by a woman, and, for the first 5 frames of my second game, I just couldn't believe that I had broken it. I just sat there." He tacked 145 and 160 games onto his opening 266 for a 571 set for the third-place Suitland Bowl team in the 16-team Metro Travel League, Washington's oldest, in which Farr carried a 138 average. A 300 perfect game has never been bowled in duckpins. The 265 by Miss Giddings had stood as the world record for both men and women since May 6, 1973, when she hit for 3 spares, 8 consecutive strikes, and a 9-count at Fairlane's Timonium in the Snowball Invitational Duckpin League. Miss Giddings was anything but crestfallen upon learning that her former overall record 265, which still holds up in women's duckpins, had been surpassed. "A friend told me last Saturday, and I think it is fantastic," she said yesterday. "My heartiest congratulations to Mr. Farr. And he is only 18. Isn't that great? He will enjoy it. Something like that stays with you for the rest of your life. It's a natural high, doing something nobody else has done, making some kind of a mark. You don't believe it at first. It's like a dream." "Everybody should have that feeling once in a lifetime," added Miss Giddings, currently a 133 to 136 average bowler 3 times a week and ranked number 8 in the nation. She also owns women's world records for 5 games with 847 and 9 games with 1305 total. Of course, records are going to be broken. Somebody is always going to come along with a better mousetrap. But you have still done it, and nobody can ever take that away from you. Miss Giddings is a registrar's office secretary at Towson State University and also spends busy weekends once a month in telecommunications for the Maryland National Guard. "Duckpin records are not a matter of life and death," she said. "After all, bowling is for fun. A lot of people may be surprised to know what a good time you can have rooting for somebody else." Before Farr started his epic game last week, he hardly expected a record-setting 266 blitz. "I had stayed up late the night before rolling pot games and was really tired when I went to work, helping a couple of friends putting up storm windows and doors," recalled the 5'5" right-hander. "I really felt good after that game, though, I'll tell you." Word of Farr's developing record spread gradually when he had a 188 line score after the 7th frame, according to Patty Crescenzi, the manager of the Suitland Bowling Center. "Later, after I announced his 266 as a record, everybody came around and picked him up. The ladies were kissing him, and the other bowlers really went crazy," Miss Crescenzi reported. "It was real nice for him. Robert had rolled a 534 set a week or 2 before, so he was really happy this time." From the Tampa Bay Times from the year 1984. The men's versus the women's Pro Tours. The difference between the LPBT and their male Professional Bowlers Association counterparts may not be as big as you think. Aside from a few minor rules changes, the most notable gap is the size of the purses. Not coincidentally, there are 35 PBA events that are televised, compared to 14 for the women. Total prize money for the PBA last year was $4,325,000, as opposed to the LPBT's $436,255. But, according to LPBT statistics, a composite average score for all players and including all games bowled favors the women 210.95 to 209.96. Kevin Shippey, Director of Operations for the PBA, said his group could not verify the figures. He questioned if the averages were valid for all events, but said they could apply to televised tournaments because bowling in those conditions is more difficult. Another factor, said Shippey, might be lane conditions. "We have a person come in and condition our lanes, toughen them up for the pros, just like they do for pro golfers," Shippey said. "I don't know if that's true for the ladies." From the Vernal Express from the year 1978. Bowling ball strikes Uinta Rexel drug. The Vernal Main Street was used as a bowling lane last Thursday. Art Lawson reported to the Vernal Express that he was driving east on Main Street toward the post office about 1:30 p.m. when he glanced in his rearview mirror and saw a bowling ball rolling down the street after him. The ball passed Lawson's truck, hit the curb on the right, bounced up, and ricocheted off the brick wall on the left side next to the door for the upstairs offices and crashed through the left glass door at the Uinta Rexall drug. 2 small children were standing near the door, but fortunately no one was hurt because the ball came to a stop on a rug. Lisa Parkinson of Uinta Rexall drug remarked, "It's not every day you have a bowling ball come through your front door. I was afraid that those 2 children were going to get hurt. The ball stopped on the rug. The Vernal City Police picked up the ball, and we don't know who owns it." From the year 2006 in the Daily Item. Get ready for some bowling action, Lynn. New show to feature candlepins. Bowling fans too young to remember Bob Gamere's days as host of Candlepins for Cash on Channel 7 or Don Gillis's years as kingpin of the Candlepin Bowling Show that used to run on Channel 5 can take heart. On Saturday, March 4, Boston's WB will introduce Candlepins for Dollars to a whole new generation. The premiere episode will feature 2 bowlers from the North Shore, Sean Baker of Lynn and Ed Tringale of Peabody. The winner will advance to play the number 4 seed, Joe Cassio of Methuen, in the next show. The show will air on Saturdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., with a rebroadcast on Sundays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Anchor Frank Malicote will host the show, with color commentary by Mike Morin, host of WZID-FM's NH in the morning, and the late Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS-TV, Channel 50, MyTV. The show will feature professional bowlers and be taped at Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill. We've made a commitment to localism, and Candlepin bowling on New England television is a treasure we didn't want lost, said Boston's WB Vice President and General Manager Vinnie Manzi. Local Candlepin shows have had a great track record, especially in the 70s and 80s. Our goal now is to revitalize the genre with a more intense, more stylish show. Manzi said the consistent ratings of past bowling shows, a passionate fan base, and the history of the sport piqued his interest in developing a new candlepin program. Candlepin bowling was founded in New England, invented in 1880 by Justin White in Worcester. People who remember the old Candlepin shows will be amazed by how good this new version looks, said Steve Ratner, Director of Creative Services Programming. We've greatly enhanced the production value with better graphics, more animation, and cool camera angles like a lipstick cam in the lane that takes viewers into the action. From the year 1973 in the Atlanta Journal. Yes, bowling can sometimes be fun. By Darrell Simmons. There is nothing at all wrong with bowling, to use a rather defensive entrance into this piece. That is, if you care for that kind of thing, there's nothing at all wrong with it. Obviously, not enough people in Atlanta care for the televised version of bowling. That's a judgment based on the reception of telephone calls and letters in this department. I have had none myself, and can find none of my compatriots who have had any correspondence from local sports television viewers who are irate about the Professional Bowlers Association Tour television package being ignored by Atlanta outlets. This is amazing, since I am being led to believe that bowling is one of the most popular sports in the video world. That's what it says in effect in a handout from the Public Relations Office of the Professional Bowlers Association. Bowling proved to be as popular as golf and hockey combined on Saturday, January 13, according to the Nielsen rating service, reads the PBA Missile, which quotes a figure of 6,030,000 average homes per minute for the ABC televised Don Carter Classic from Arcadia, California on that day. The PBA figures compare to $3,050,000 for the National Hockey League game on the same day and $2,980,000 for the CBS Golf Classic, another Saturday afternoon competitor. If that's a fair appraisal of the interest in bowling, where are all the local protesters, like those who heeded the mail and rang the phones off our hooks until a local station picked up the National Basketball Association's Sunday afternoon games? Oh well, maybe what an old pro bowler once told me is true about the sport. I was covering a PBA tournament from the host lane's coffee shop, and he was waiting for his next match, also in the coffee shop. You know, he said, bowling is just like kissing. It's a lot of fun when you do it. Here's another in the line of bowling hints from the Dr. X Bowling Clinic from the year 1962 in the Greensboro Record. This week's bowling tip from Jack Morrissey: bending that left knee. Piedmont Lanes. To paraphrase, to be or not to be, into to bend or not to bend, we can come up with one of the bigger problems in the final delivery of the bowling ball. Most of us have a tendency not to bend the left knee enough, if you're a right-handed bowler, on the final step at the line. Basically, a fairly erect position should be kept approaching the foul line, and this maneuver completed with a deep knee bend as you start your final sliding step. Your hand should reach well over the foul line at the point of delivery, and then complete your follow-through. Some bowlers, at the expense of low-scoring games, simply employ a stooping position instead of bending the knee. They insist on bending at the waist or hips and keeping the knee rigid. A delivery of this proportion makes the bowler top-heavy and overbalanced at the line, where he or she should be in complete command of their body actions. From this position, naturally, it is almost impossible to get any slide to the line. When a bowler is unable to stoop low enough to get a normal, smooth delivery, he must drop his or her right shoulder to get the ball down on the lane in the right spot. When this is done, they destroy the line created by the fine pendulum swing they should have had. Beginners should concentrate on this very important phase of the game. Don't ever hesitate to practice your approach on the lanes without a bowling ball for 5 to 10 minutes. This constant repetition will eventually give you an automatic approach to your bowling game and leave your mind free to concentrate on your rangefinders, release, and follow-through. From the Daily Reporter from the year 1955. Bowling ball sends man to hospital. A bowling ball scored a strike on Alva Sipe that sent him to the hospital with a possible fractured skull. Sipe was leaning over to seize another bowling ball in a locker at a Winchester bowling alley when the ball dropped 3 feet from a top shelf onto his head. From the year 2006 in the Freelance Star. Fredericksburg area bowling alleys, the new weekend hotspots. Remember back in the day when bowling was what it was all about? The shoes were dorky, the balls were heavy, and it was the most exciting thing in the world to get a strike. Well, I'm here to tell you bowling is back. It's the newest cool thing to do on your Friday or Saturday night. Whether it's at Liberty Lanes, AMF, or even down in King George on the Naval Base, the lanes are always packed and there's always a wait. When asked why bowling has become popular again, University of Mary Washington freshman Laura Guthrie explains, "Bowling is a good icebreaker. There are never any awkward silences at a bowling alley. Plus, it's not a very complicated game to get. Throw a ball at a bunch of pins, knock them down, and stay away from the gutter. Very simple." Apparently this is true. On a Friday night, there is normally at least a 30-minute wait to acquire a lane at Liberty Lanes. People are loud, social, and seemingly having fun. Even at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, you can find people bowling away. Though it wouldn't seem like it, there is a big difference among the bowling alleys in the area. Although it's a drive from the Berg in King George County on the Dahlgren base, there's Waggy's Bowling Alley. Located in the basement of one of the buildings, it houses 6 lanes and features great food and very cheap prices. For a party of 4, the price rarely exceeds $15 for more than one game and shoe rentals. Stephen Mueller, a graduate of King George High School and someone who frequents Waggy's, says, "It's nice to go to Waggy's because it's convenient to get to and inexpensive. I've been going to it regularly since I was in middle school." Liberty Lanes in Massaponax, and the newest of the 3 bowling alleys, is a very large, more expensive bowling alley. It not only houses a bowling alley, but an arcade, bar, and food stand. Cameron Rice, a freshman at UMW, says Liberty Lanes is the best of all 3 choices. It's just awesome. They have a ton of room, and it's better kept up. Liberty Lanes also has a location in North Stafford off of State Route 610. AMF, Fredericksburg's oldest bowling alley, is home to extreme bowling. It has slightly higher prices than Liberty Lanes, but a far better decor. "I like it because the people who work there are polite," Gabrielle Cauchon, a freshman at Virginia Commonwealth University, explains. "AMF is cool because I don't have to think about anything but how well I'm bowling. And Friday and Saturday they have extreme bowling, which is fun." Regardless of which bowling alley you want to try, on slow weekends, you can always pull out the dorky shoes and try to get as many strikes as possible.
Well, I guess we've come to the end and we'll be wrapping it up for today. Thanks for stopping by and tuning in. As usual, if you haven't already done so and would like to be notified when future videos become available and are published, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of the videos or YouTube video screen. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the upcoming Thursday or Friday. Take care.